it's really not too obvious, but it definitely adds this boom, boom, boom to the track, if you get what I mean. Yo, what's up? My name is Severman, and in today's video I will show you how to make a drop like Hardwell and KSHMR. And for this tutorial I'll be showing you the FLP of my upcoming track called Oracle. And this one is a collaboration with KRINC, and it will be released on May 28th. So this Friday on Spur Records. So yeah, well, let's get straight into the FLP. So let me show you what the drop of this track sounds like. So it's like actually exclusive preview right here. So yeah, let's check this out. So yeah, this is what the drop sounds like, and just in case you want to pre-save this, check out the first link in the description for that. But yeah, let's start with this tutorial. So I think it really got this KSHMR vibe in the leads, and the bass line of this track, like we have this gated bass line, is really inspired by Hardwell, by his track Conquerors. So I think it's also a really cool like crossover of big room and progressive house that KRINC and I made with this project. So yeah, let me show you the melody and the leads first, because I think that's probably the most important thing, or yeah, like, you know, the main element in the drop, like melody wise. So let's check this out. So we got this lead bounce out, and solely this one sounds like that. So I definitely got this like KSHMR Deadman Set type of sound, which like it's pretty common in the big room scene, I would say. A lot of producers used or have been using this type of sound. So yeah, I think we used 2 Silent 1 presets for this one, or 2 or 3 presets which KRINC had, and yeah, that's like pretty much the main lead sound that we have. So let's check out the processing. So we have this one going into this channel. And we have, first of all, some EQing with these. So I felt like we had too much frequencies around the 1.2 kHz, because this is like a frequency which is very like enhanced or present with this type of lead sound in big room. You always have these almost harsh sounding 1.1, 1.2 kHz. And I felt like it was just a bit too much in this case. So I yeah, lowered these frequencies a bit, and then I also reduced the high end a bit, because I felt like it was sounding too harsh a bit. And then next up we have this EQ with a basic low and high cut. As you probably know from my other tutorials, like I always high cut my stuff at 16 kHz. Then we have the low cut set to 200 Hz with the leads in this track. Then we have a Camel Crusher next up, because I felt like the leads were a bit too like punchy on each note. So without the Camel Crusher, they would sound like that. And now again with the Camel Crusher, it just sounds a bit more compressed and less punchy, and like the transients aren't as sharp with the Camel Crusher. So they still have a nice punch, but it's not as sharp like as before. Then we have the P controller with the reverb. So I also showed this in another video of mine, but let me just show it once again to you. So basically with the P controller, I'm ducking the wet signal of the reverb. As you can see, when the leads stop playing, the wet signal goes up, because this will help to make the reverb a bit cleaner, and will interfere less with the actual dry signal of your leads. And this will just create a cleaner sound, especially when you work with big room type of leads, because usually they have a lot of reverb. But you know, if you duck the reverb while the leads are playing, just makes it a bit clearer. and it still gives you this sort of impression or feeling of having much reverb, because once the leads start playing, you have all that reverb coming up. So yeah, let's check out the settings for the reverb that we have in this case. So we have the low cut set to 800 Hz, and this helps to really also clean up the reverb, because it takes away this low mid range, which often has muddy character. And then with the high cut, we have it set to 10k Hz. And then I boosted the damping a bit to 6k Hz. It's a bit more high end to the reverb, I feel like, with this Reverb 2 plugin. And then the decay time is set to 2.8 seconds in this case. Then we have some filter automation right here. This kickstart plugin for sidechain, as well as this one in order to really get the leads out of the way of the top kick. So then I have the leads routed to another channel in order to be able to put more effects on them. So we have another gross beat, and with this one I basically did this speed up gate LFO type of thing, and I did this one in the middle section of the drop. So these are the two automation clips that I use for that, and just check this out, what kind of effect this has on the leads. And it's not only the volume which is being affected, but what I also did, and this also makes it a bit more special, I think, because this LFO thing is something that you have also in quite a lot of tracks in the big room scene. But what makes it even more special is that also the panning is affected. So let's check this out again with the panning. So it's also doing this with the panning, not only with the volume, but also it's spreading out the leads to left and the right speaker. So I did this using a ghost panning sound, and I basically set up a 3x oscillator in a new pattern for that. And the sound doesn't really matter for this one, because it's just a ghost signal which triggers the panning of the leads. And yeah, I have this routed to channel 53. And then on here, I also have the speed up gate preset from Fruity Grossbeat. And then I also added this P controller to it. And with the P controller, I'm able to control how much I want the panning to affect the leads. So if I would adjust the bass knob and the volume knob, I would change the way the panning affects the leads. So I could make the panning more to the left side, I could make the panning more to the right side, or I could just make the panning less intense on both sides or more intense on both sides. But then of course I also needed to route this P controller to my actual leads. And for that I opened up this stereo enhancer. And what I did, I basically just routed the panning signal to the P controller peak from the channel 53, and that's then pretty much it. So again, let's check this out. I think it just creates a really nice variation within the track. And then next up for the processing we have another filter, so this is also for automation. And then we have this Fruity Balance for volume automation basically. So that's it pretty much with the processing of the leads. So let's check out the bassline next up. So again, for the bassline, we use this gated type of sound, which I think gives really nice energy to the drop. So yeah, the MIDI of the bassline looks like that. So as you can see, I did the gating in the piano roll. So sometimes I also see producers doing it with Grossbeat or whatever plugin out there, but I just did this in the piano roll itself already. So let's check out the sounds that I used to layer this bassline. So it consists of 3 presets. One is for the sub bass, and then we have 2 mid basses, meaning the sub bass only provides the lower frequencies below 120 Hz or something like that. Then we have 2 mid basses providing all the upper frequencies in order to actually make the bassline audible, because the sub bass is only for, like, you only feel it really, to be honest. So yeah, the sub bass is just a sine wave as I usually have in my tracks from 3x Oscillator. Then the first mid bass is from Nexus. It's this On the Move preset, which is a really nice supersaw type of sound. And then the third one is a preset from Spire, and this one gives a resonating type of character to the mid bass, and also helps to make it pop out in the mix a bit. So also let's check out the processing for these. So we basically just have this EQ on the sub bass. So that's what I was talking about earlier. So the sub bass is high cut at 176 hertz. So it only provides the frequencies below this frequency, and then all the frequencies above 176 hertz are provided by the mid basses. Then we have some volume automation as well as the sidechain for, like, I use Grosby for the sub. And then for the mid basses, I have them going to channel 11. And yeah, let's check out the processing on that channel. So we have quite crazy EQing on the mid basses. So I really wanted to push the higher mids, like the upper mids and the higher frequencies. And I also dipped out the 400 hertz a bit to also get rid of this muddy area. Then we have the low and the high cut in this one. So here I kind of did the opposite of what I did with the sub bass. So I have the high cut, the low cut in here. It's like 104 hertz. Like, it's not exactly where I have the high cut in my sub bass, but it still defines the area which I want my mid bass to play in, and the sub bass, which I was talking about earlier. So that's it pretty much with the EQing. Then I still added this Grossbeat preset, Sawgate 2 it's called. And it helps to make it even more like gatey, if that makes sense. But it's just on like 20%, so it's not doing, like, it's not adding too much to it. Then again, we have some filter automation. This one's being used also in the middle of the drop right here. So this also just helps to keep the track interesting and to have variation in the track, basically. Then we have another filter which actually muted, balance for volume automation, Grossbeat for sidechain, then also kickstart for sidechain. I'll probably just use one of these. I think I'll probably use the kickstart for the mid basses. So that's pretty much it with the processing for the bass line. However, there's one more sound in this track or in this drop which sort of adds to the bass line. And what I did, I added a big room kick to the bass line in order to give it more power and to give it more of this big room type of vibe, which we wanted to have in this track. Like the big room kick itself just sounds like that in the track. So as you can see, it just adds these frequencies around 80, 100 hertz to the bass line. And it's not adding sub, because I removed the sub in this sound in order to not have a clash with our sub bass. Then I also have a bit of like distortion on it, and then some kickstart to not have it clash with my kick drum. So let's blend this one in to the mid basses. It's really not too obvious, but it definitely adds this boom, boom, boom to the track, if you get what I mean. Alright, then next up we have the chords. So for the chords I only used one preset, and it's actually the same one that I used for the first mid bass. So it's also LD on the Move from Nexus. And this one sounds like that. So as you can tell, these are also gated, and in this drop I really wanted to create one sound with the bass line and the chords. Like, I really wanted to make them like melt together, if that makes sense. And like, this is also which makes the drop a bit more special, I think, which also helps to like give more of these progressive vibes to it, because in Big Room you usually don't have chords in the drop. And also to show you the processing for the chords, we have again some EQing, boosting the high end. Then this, like rolling off the lows again and reducing a bit of these 200, 300 hertz to again get rid of this muddy area a bit. Then we got the low and the high cut, also rolling off the lows a bit. Again, the P controller with the reverb for the same purpose as with the leads, like to duck the reverb. Then we got a bit of stereo enhancing to make the chords really wide, because I really wanted to separate them from the leads a bit and also from the bass line. So just to have them like on the sides, add some more width and frequencies to the overall sound to the drop. Then again, we have this like gated preset from Grossbeat to just add a bit more movement to the chords. But then I thought that the chords were actually too wide, and then I just opened up another stereo enhancer to make them less wide. So I turned them back a bit to the minus a bit. Then again, we have this filter for the automation in the middle of the drop. And then last but not least, the sidechain. All right, so let's check out the drums next. So we got quite a lot of sounds for the drums in here. So let me show you all of these. So that's what the drums sound like together, but let me break them down so that you get an idea of how we layered all of these samples. So at the top we have 2 kick drums, and I have one for the bass frequencies and then one for the top frequencies, like the top kick, and one bass kick. And these together, they sound like that. So splitting up the kick drum into 2 sounds has like 2 benefits, you can say. One is you get a more unique sound because you're combining 2 sounds. And the second one is that it's easier to mix it down in your track because you have like access to the low frequencies separately from the higher frequencies of your kick. And this makes it easier to mix it down. So to show you how I layered these, I basically have an EQ on the bass kick, which gets rid of all the top frequencies, this one right here. So I have a high cut set to 2.4 kHz, and it's also rolling off the higher frequencies. So I make room for the top kick this way, and then with the top kick I basically did the opposite. So I have a low cut and like a lower roll off set to, what is it, like 120 Hz, and this really creates a nice crossover between the 2 kicks. So like that's pretty much with like the kick drum for this track. Then we have some downlifters right here, and some claps being introduced at this point. And what's also kind of cool with the middle section of the drop is that we have this like special kick pattern, if that makes sense. Like I think this is quite unique, like taking out the 2 kick drums in here. Like it creates a really nice emphasis on the notes that we have on these kicks right here. And what also helps to like create more emphasis on these 2 notes is the crash that I added. So we have the clap and another ride. I really like this. And then we have a snare right here. Another ride which is being introduced in the second half of the drop. And what I also did in the second half of the drop is I added the crash also to like the rhythm of the melody in the 4th bar. So check this out. Then we have some more impact sounds. More impact sounds and crashes right here. Then we have this girl type of voice sound, which I like to use in my emotional progressive house tracks. And like generally this is more used in like progressive house, but I thought using it in this more energetic big room type of drop also really worked out. So this sounds like that with that one. Then we have a ride which is playing in that gated rhythm of the bass line and the chords. Just helps to add some more high end to the bass line and the chords. And then I think also the fill section of the drop is quite unique because I also added quite a few fill samples or drum samples, whatever. So check out the fill section right here. So we have this reversed kick drum right here, which is like the reverse big room kick that we have. Then we have a snare, an impact sound, then this Kashmir fill sound, a clock, this clap sound, and with this sweep up, and another impact. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the drums. Now we have 2 more sounds left in the second half of the drop, and it's basically this up right here and another layer for the chords, and these solely sound like that. So these are sounds that we took from the break, and yeah, I felt like adding these also to the drop created more energy in the second half of the drop. So yeah, let's have a listen to the entire drop again. So that's pretty much it. Now let's also have a look at the mastering, because that's something which I get asked quite a lot, but there's never really anything special on my master. So we just have the stereo enhancer for some automation for the volume right here. Then we have, this one is actually muted, so we didn't use that one, but then we have this EQ to low and high cut the track. And yeah, last but not least, we have the sausage fastener again, which I like to use for my limiter, or like as a limiter, because I really like the way it makes your track sound loud without distorting it too much. So it's really nice to get like a lot of volume with your track. And that's pretty much it. Like, this is muted, so I like to have this one on my master to just double check the low ends of my track. You know, really allows you to just have a closer look at your sub frequencies. And then I have this span analyzer to check like the frequency balance of my track and the correlation meter. But that's pretty much it with the drop. So we're gonna make another video on how we made this entire track, like also with the breaks and stuff, and we'll go a bit more into detail with this video, which will come after the release date. So again, the release date of this track will be this Friday, March 28th. If you want to pre-save it, check out the first link in the description. And that's it with this video. I hope you liked it. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you did so. Make sure to leave a comment with your feedback, subscribe if you haven't, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.